Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have, let's see, what can I describe you as this week, Kirk?
Um,
Calamity-stricken.
yeah, that's a good choice. Calamity stricken Kirk. Yep.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. It's been quite a week, but we have lots of Nintendo items to cheer everyone up and get you onto the Nintendo bandwagon again.
Yes. To bring
Yeah.
us joy and push us
Bring us joy.
forward.
Push us forward, exactly. Nintendo's always there to do that. And that is what Nintendo does, is bring us joy. And so this week we're going to talk a lot about the latest Nintendo news, including a bit of an update from Nintendo themselves about the Switch 2. I'm putting that in inverted quotes. You can't see my hands, but I'm doing that. And we've got a bit of a movie update as well as music and games we're playing, of course. And Kirk was privy to a preview as well, which we'll talk about soon too. So let's kick things off with that Nintendo news, and they have their I don't know if it was quarterly briefing. I guess they have these. It's called a half yearly review, but it's because of the fiscal year. So Nintendo's year, and I think is this just a business thing? The years end in March or the end of March.
Yeah, they don't have to. Fiscal years can be all over the place, but I think a lot fall into that
Okay.
timeline. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we're halfway through that cycle, I suppose now, or just we were. And Nintendo had their, investors update where they relayed all their sales data from the last quarter, and they mentioned the Switch successor, which was really neat. And it's not super surprising news, but it's really cool to know that, for example, the Switch successor will definitely be backwards compatible, something we've kind of speculated on and hoped and almost assumed, I suppose, at this point. And now we can assume because it's true. So that
Yeah,
was,
yeah. I've
yeah.
always believed that that was a foregone conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised. But yeah, there are a lot of things I think are foregone conclusions and then surprised me. So I am very happy to have gotten that confirmation because there are games I still
Definitely.
need to finish.
Yes, exactly. Me too. Sea of Stars is a prime example. I'm just like,
Yes, exactly. Yes.
yeah. So yes, that is good news. Very good news. And I think it would have been a huge surprise if that wasn't the case. I think, as you said, we kind of assumed that because yeah, Nintendo wouldn't shoot themselves in the foot. I don't think that much. The Switch library is vast. It's huge. There's a lot of games, almost too many at this point to play. We've had quite a year. In fact, if you look at the lineup of games year by year across the Switch's life, this has been a really good year for the Switch. I think better than definitely 2022 and maybe even better than last year. But in terms of the number of kind of first party or bigger releases that you know Nintendo puts out, it's been a very big year. The other tidbit, I suppose, from that was that and so this is related to the Switch and the software, as I just mentioned, that more software has been played on Nintendo Switch than on any other Nintendo hardware. So the sales for the Switch itself were down a little for the quarter compared to last year. However, software is just, like I said, there's just been so much this year, so much content, and so the software sales have continued to improve and go up, and Nintendo's doing well in that regard. And as Kirk said, we have games that we haven't even played yet that we hope to play in the future. Don't know how that's going to go when there's like a fancy new Mario or some crazy new game on the Switch successor, and we're still playing our old Switch games. But
Yeah.
yeah, it could take a
And
while.
one of the things that I think struck me on this too is, in addition to the fact that there's been more software, and you were talking
Hmm.
about a lot over the past year, looking back on all the reviews that we have written, it's also been a really like good year for quality software.
Mm-hmm.
Because I keep looking at our reviews, and for the most part, they tend to hover around like 7 or 8. I'm like, are we really just not critical enough? Because we tend to fall into this, that sort of space a lot. But I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that people have been releasing good games as
Mm.
opposed to like a lot of the shovelware that we would get on previous systems that were just crap. That doesn't seem to be the case here. Or if it is, we're picking better games to review.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's true. That's a really good point. I agree. I totally agree. We've seen some really good games come through this year. Really, really good quality, excellent, and they get excellent scores as a result, of course. So yeah, definitely makes it harder to choose which games to play, of course. But hopefully readers can see the reviews and then decide for themselves, depending on what the game is. But yeah, that's kind of our job, I suppose, isn't it? To
Yep.
give people our opinions. So yeah. And then I suppose the final part of this investors wrap up is a confirmation that the Switch successor is still on track for announcement by the end of March 2025. So I think that was the news we got earlier this year at a different investors briefing. They said, no, Nintendo said we will announce the Switch successor before the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of March 2025. So we know it's coming sometime between now and 20 and March 2025, and they just confirmed that that's still the case. So that's good to know. Nintendo, sometimes does have to delay announcements, especially things like, well, mostly it's software related, isn't it? I think like Zelda and Metro.
Yeah. Or yeah,
Yeah.
Metroid. Um, yeah, I'm struck by. Did they use the term "on track" when they said
Or
this?
was that me? Did I write that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a tweet from Nintendo, and this is probably translated from Japanese. What have they said there? Um, They've said Nintendo Switch Online will be available to the successor as well. As well, yes. Further information about the successor to Nintendo Switch, including its compatibility with Nintendo Switch, will be announced at a later date. That didn't mention the thing, did it? I don't know. Sorry, I might have just written that. I'm not sure, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I just
Um,
ask because "on track" is kind of a an odd way of saying it, like it could get off track.
yeah,
And
true.
if that's the case, if that's really a concern, then I'm assuming that that would mean that when they announcement, it's going to have a pretty quick turnaround for availability. Otherwise, they could announce it
Mm,
whenever and say it's going to be, within a year and a half.
yes,
So,
that's yeah, true.
but yeah, if
Hmm.
they didn't actually use that, then shouldn't read too much into it.
Yeah, no, I think that's me. I think I
Okay.
wrote that. I think I wrote that. Just when I was scanning, the socials and news blogs, I think I just wrote those notes during the week as I saw it. It did lead me to think a little bit, I guess, about what you kind of what you've alluded to a little bit about the time period, but also when it comes to the Switch successor, I'm thinking now. I'm just in this frame of mind just the last few days. I don't know why. Tell me what you think. I don't think it's just going to be a simple upgrade to the Switch. I still think Nintendo is going to throw in something quirky our way, like a second screen or a 3D capability or VR or AR or something. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I'm just thinking, I don't think it's just going to be as simple as a beefier Switch. I don't know why, but I'm just thinking, why would they take so long? Why would they be so hush hush about it? And also, it's Nintendo, right? They just don't do things by the book. That everyone would expect them to just do a Switch 2.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's gonna have something different, some little, even if it's a small gimmick. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree because I don't think it would be fun for them to just beef it
Hmm.
up and put it out. I think they're a
Yeah,
company that wants to kind of try new things, and that makes the whole development process exciting.
true.
It makes it exciting for developers. I would hope that whatever they end up doing isn't too gimmicky.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned VR, and to me that's very gimmicky. So I hope that's not the case.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yes, I do think there's going to be something, and I hope it's completely catches us off guard on how wonderful and great it is, and makes it fun for
Hmm.
developers to try new things and get us like good original content,
Hmm.
as opposed to the same kind of games just being churned out over and over.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I love that. And I think it's also, what would motivate people to buy a Switch 2 if it's just a beefier Switch? Like, yes, a lot of people will want it automatically, and it would maybe upscale existing Switch games, make them look a bit better, or, newer games like a new Mario could look amazing, and you need to get the Switch 2 to play it, for example. But some people won't, and they'll just sit there and wait, and they won't get it until there's whatever game in the series. Like we're not probably going to get a new Zelda for a while. They might be waiting for a new Zelda. But if there's a fun new thing, that's going to push people to get it because they'll need it, right? Like the Wii, like the Switch. Everyone wanted one because it was cool and new and fancy. Like I think that's another potential reason, maybe
Yep.
marketing. Yeah. Anyway. a lot to look forward to. I can't wait. Everyone's clamoring, but let's just be patient. It'll happen when it happens, and then we'll be so excited when it does. Like, yeah, it's gonna be amazing time. 2025 should be an exciting year,
Oh
hopefully.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
and I'm already looking forward to Xenoblade Chronicles X. So, like,
Hmm.
the actual
Yeah.
hardware has fallen a bit by the wayside because I have something
Yeah.
concrete to look forward to now.
That's so true. That is so true. Yes, agree. Definitely. So we'll move on to some more news that came from Nintendo during the week. They gave us a small update on the Zelda movie, which is interesting, I suppose, in terms of the release year. They said that it would be released in the 20. Oh, did I quote this wrong? Was it 2020 2002X, like it'll be sometime in, yeah, it'll be sometime in the 2020s, basically. We can expect the live action Zelda movie, um, which I suppose, gives us some expectations there. It will definitely be this decade, but it could be as far away as 2029. Um, Probably not, I don't think. But maybe they just don't know if it's 26 or 27 or 28, that kind of thing. What do you think?
Oh, I'm pulling up the link because I want to see. I saw this originally, but I want to see what the timeline is for the other movies that they're putting out because I
Hmm.
imagine that. Okay, so we're getting the new Mario Brothers movie in 2026. I would imagine that Zelda would follow that pretty quickly. Wait, what is the
Hmm.
one? No, we got. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I imagine that it would follow it pretty quickly because they could put both those movies in development at the same time.
Yes, that's true. They're not related. They're not from the same studio. One's live action, one's animated. Different people writing and directing and starring, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also don't know how far along they are. Like we haven't heard about a cast or any kind of set
No.
work or
Mhm.
pre-development. Um, so I
Yeah.
don't even know if they had a script when they made the announcement that they were making a Legend of Zelda movie. So they may still be hammering that out. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's why it's got the X is because there are just too many variables in place to be able to pin
Mhm.
it down at this point.
Yes. And I guess it's good in a way that Nintendo can afford to do that. It's not like, Disney, I suppose, with their Star Wars franchise or Marvel or whatever, right? They plan it out and give us years, the new Marvel, whatever the Avengers next thing is, comes out whatever year, right? They plan it out ahead. And they kind of have to in a way because that's their thing. Disney does movies and TV shows, but you know what I mean? That's what they're trying to do. And so they kind of need to give fans expectations. Nintendo does games, and even that we still don't have a firm date for Switch successor, but they can afford to be more flexible with their dates because they know their business. And I mean, we're all going to go see a Legend of Zelda movie if it comes
Yeah.
out in 2027 or 2028. It doesn't really matter. I think it's fine.
Yeah. And they don't need to rely on the income.
And I'd rather they did a good job. I think we've said this before, haven't we? We'd rather they did a really good job on it than rushed it,
Yeah, definitely.
right?
Definitely.
Just like the
And they're not.
games. We'd rather they say, yeah, we're just going to take a little bit extra time with this before we release it, because we want to get it right. And that's great. I love that. And it's always worth it in the end.
Yeah, I can't think of any movie that was delayed and was worse as a result.
Yes, excellent point. And I think it looks like the film is in the planning and development stage. So in terms of where they're at, it's very secretive. Like it does say the director Wes Ball mentions they're in, what does he say? Early works or something like that. Work is underway. But yeah, as like you mentioned, the script, we don't know if they've got one. Probably not. It's probably been tweaked, and I'm sure Nintendo is heavily involved with that. But a very interesting update. Something we look forward to. And yes, we do have the Mario movie to look forward to first in 2026, and then Zelda presumably in 2027, 8 or 9. It'll be one of those three.
And you know
Yeah.
what else just occurred to me regarding the timing of this is I wonder if when they release it, because we've talked about whether it's going to be based on an old game or if it's
Mm.
going to be um, completely separate of any game, just a whole new story. But I wonder if they're planning on tying it in with a new game somehow.
Yeah,
So it
maybe.
needs to be developed alongside that. And that's another thing that could affect the outcome is the games, who knows what trouble you're going to run into. So they don't want to announce a firm year until they're certain that a tie-in game's coming out at the same time.
That is a very good point. Yes, I think maybe that really could happen because we're a few years away from a new Legend of Zelda title in the 3D kind of space since we just had Tears of the Kingdom relatively
Mhm.
recently. So that timing could work actually. Yeah. Hmm, good point. Very exciting. Listeners, let us know what you think. Will it be based on an existing outing, a Link adventure, or will it be a new one, or will it be completely separate? Indeed. um, and something. Should I even try to tie this in? I was going to say the music will be very important, and then I was going to say, speaking of music,
Hey,
yeah,
whatever seg you can come up with, make it work. That's what I say.
yeah, I definitely can't wait to hear the music of the film. But in the meantime, there is some music updates from Nintendo. There are some music updates, and we know Nintendo launched an app recently called Nintendo Music, and I've been playing a lot with this during the week, Kirk. I've actually spent a bit more time with it. I had played with it last week when we talked about it, but even more so this week, since they've already been dropping new soundtracks. Have you had a chance? Sorry, before I go on, have you had a chance to try it yet, or download it, or anything?
I didn't download it personally. I did tell my son Sam about it. He was home from college last weekend, and the moment I brought it up, he downloaded it immediately,
Oh,
um, and started listening to it. His first complaint was there's not nearly enough stuff on here.
mm-hmm,
But then
hmm
he dug a little deeper and found some things that he liked. I have a feeling, I haven't talked to him about it since, but I have a feeling he's busting it open every now and again for studying and such. I haven't
yeah,
downloaded it
yeah,
myself.
yes, very cool. I agree with Sam that there definitely is not enough content. But it seems like they're adding some maybe weekly. I don't know, because it's only been out a week and they have released new content in the first or its second week. Maybe they'll do it because we have the eShop listings every week. There's new games on the eShop. This week on the eShop listing, it also had not on the eShop itself on the Switch, but just in the press release that comes from Nintendo that we put on the site, it does have a section for Nintendo Music, and it did have two new soundtracks added, which was Donkey Kong Country 2 and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So new content this week, maybe next week. Let's see what what they bring to the table. But I've certainly been listening to Super Mario Brothers Wonder during the week while I've been working, just in the background. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, that's a great soundtrack. I think Mario Brothers Wonder has a really nice sound, really nice audio to it. It's kind of bouncy and fun. Um, and I've tried out that extended play that we talked about last week as well. I actually went and listened to Breath of the Wild soundtrack, which is really nice and very good for background music for work or study. And did the extended play, and it's really cool. It doesn't just loop it. It kind of I don't even know what it does. I really don't. I think I just did a 15-minute version. There's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 60 minutes, and it kind of just somehow extends it. I don't even know. Didn't sound repetitive. It just fell into the background for me. Very lovely. So yeah, I've been trying it a lot. I'm excited to see what comes next because yes, I would love to see something like I was thinking during the week, Echoes of Wisdom would have been nice to have on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially what is I can't remember which zone it is, the Zora zone with that trombone.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
nice.
Yes. So hopefully they add that in the near future. We'll see, and maybe I don't know how it will work with new games, whether they can release it at the same time or whether they need to have a break between game and soundtrack. I don't know. Depends. Like Mario and Luigi just came out. Is that on there? No, not yet. Actually, no. Why not? I don't know. That would have made sense, wouldn't it? Get people excited about the game through the music. I don't know.
Maybe they wait for people to get into the music and clamor for it.
Yes, maybe, maybe. Yeah, that could be it. Honestly. Anyway, we'll see. So that's a little update for Nintendo Music. The app, listeners, let us know if you're enjoying the app, what you're listening to, which soundtrack you're vibing with. I sound like a DJ. Say that. What else? Oh, there's another music little piece of news, a little tidbit that a composer from Nintendo recently, as in during the week, he announced that he has left Nintendo. He actually left in July of last year, so it's a bit of a belated announcement from him. So it's Yazuaki Iwata, if I'm saying that correctly. And he is renowned for being the composer of Breath of the Wild, which coincidentally I was listening to during the week, not because of his retirement or not retirement, but his resignation from Nintendo. Just randomly, I thought that would be a good soundtrack to listen to. But it is lovely, honestly, and
Hmm.
also Animal Crossing. Yes, so he's moved on Good for him, I suppose. It sounds like it was amicable from what his statement said.
Yeah.
Did you?
Did he didn't announce where he went, right? It wasn't like to a competing company or anything
No,
like that. Just
no. He said he's been working on some projects and he can't wait to tell fans about it, I suppose. So it sounds like he might have just been doing, I don't know, freelance or I don't know if it's a company, I'm not sure. But yeah, he hasn't announced an official new title or job or whatever at this point. So we'll see. Yeah, but he thanked his co-workers, I guess, or colleagues, I think he put it, for supporting him and all that sort of thing. So sounds positive. I mean, you know, people move on, I suppose. Not
yep.
Miyamoto, but other people do. move on. We
Yeah, and
don't
I
want
think it would
Miyamoto to
be
move on. Yeah,
as a
right.
composer, you wouldn't want to be confined to the video game world all the time.
Mm,
Um,
hmm.
Branch out and
Yes.
do cinema or even just symphonies that for no reason other than just to perform them. They're not attached to a project. A lot more freedom that way, I would think.
Yes. And speaking of music and composers, I actually forgot to put this into the notes, but oh my gosh, I totally went to this event during the week that involved Nintendo music, and it was really fun. It's called Extra Lives Music, and it's this traveling group of people who put on a show, like literally a show where you're in the audience and they're on the stage playing in a band, and they play game music. But it's not just like song after song, like a set. It is interactive. So they have a big screen behind them with a story, like kind of like a role playing game, I suppose. You're a character, you're doing this, and then every now and then they give the audience a choice, and they just use Mentimeter to choose the path. It's like a choose your own adventure. And so, for example, you could go left or right, just as a simple example. And if you
Hmm.
choose left, something happens over here, and they play a song based on what happens. It was so fun and it's so retro. Like they played tunes from The Legend of Zelda, they played Mario Kart 64, they played one of the old Mario Party titles. There was some sort of Final Fantasy type of game in there. It was really fun and really just different and unique. I'd never been to anything like this before. Have you heard of anything like this, Kirk?
No, no,
No.
no.
Yeah, no, me neither. My friend surprised me and took me there, just as a night out. It's just crazy. And I'll tell you one example where you're on an island and you've just arrived and you're competing with people for an Uber because there's only one Uber on the island and your phone reception's down. So you're wandering on the island trying to get the right reception to kind of beat the other people to get the Uber first. And that's when Mario Party starts. It's like a mini game, right? So then they play the Mario Party music, and the dude's on a guitar, and it sounds so cool. It's really cool. I chatted to the dude afterwards, and we might get him on the show at some point or talk to him about in some other capacity because it is very Nintendo flavored. But yes, he was from LA, he's from not your neck of the woods exactly, but from the US,
Yep.
and they were just happened to be in Australia. So very very cool. Just thought I'd throw that in there. If you wanted to check out those guys, go check them out. Fun
I
guys.
have something similar to add,
Okay.
coincidentally. Speaking of
Oh.
random Nintendo music, I
Yes.
was at a football game. The school that Sophie and Sam go to, they were playing a nearby college. And since Max is a fan of theirs, we went to see Ohio University play at Kent State, which is a school near me.
Hmm.
And Kent State's marching band at the halftime show did video game music.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so not all of it was, well, I guess, was it all Nintendo related? They started with Tetris,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
which was funny because the marching band actually formed a couple of the like block shapes and they marched and connected two of them and then marched down like they were
Wow.
putting them in place. And then they did a few different Mario bits. So we were that, and I couldn't see what they were marching as at the time, but I know that one point they did the invincibility music, and they had formed into the shape of a star, like the
Oh,
the one
that's
that
so
you would
cool.
catch in order to get
Yeah.
that. And then they ended that part with the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da from the end of the level. So it
Yeah.
was very clever. After that, I think they did Skyrim and Halo.
Right.
But
Wow.
yeah, the
That's
first two were,
cool.
yeah, it was fun. I was excited to watch that. And I was in marching band. We never did anything cool like that. It wasn't a
Yeah.
university, it was just high school, but so it's always fun to see bands take on something like that that you're into.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. What a cool idea. I
Yeah.
wonder they
Oh,
would have had a lot of fun practicing that too.
yes, yes, and they sounded great. It was a very, very good marching band show.
Mhm. Wow, kudos to them. That's brilliant. A
Yeah,
lot of, music news we had this week.
yeah.
I love it. Very
Well,
cool. Now you'll have to
yeah, it's fun when Nintendo pops up in places where you don't expect them to.
It is, yeah, it is, very much so. You'll have to download the app now as well, Kirk, so you can
Can I get marching band versions of the songs? I guess some of them are
Oh,
symphonies and orchestras already, so that's pretty close.
true, true. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so it's such a weird, not weird, but just out of the blue thing to happen, as in the app, just Nintendo Music just came out of nowhere,
Yeah,
and I thought it was just so random, but now I'm like, "This is cool. I like this. I really like this." So I think it's nice they did that. It's not competing with anything else. Like, it's not competing with their games or their movies or anything. Um, and I suppose on some level it competes with the likes of Spotify, but they're not out to make money out of it. It's a free app if you have Switch Online, the caveat. But that's another cool incentive to get Switch Online, I suppose, as well. So, and I
yeah,
think they said back to that investors briefing that the Switch Online subscriptions, the actual Switch Online subscriptions have diminished a little bit, but the Switch Online Plus, is that what it's called? The one with the Nintendo 64, like the upgraded version of it?
yep,
That has grown. So people are moving more to that side now, like to that plus level membership at this
yeah.
point.
And they said
So
that will carry over with the Switch successor too, right?
yes, yes, which is great. Very good news. Very good news. Yeah. So lots of cool music insights this week. Listeners, please do let us know what your favorite soundtrack is if you happen to have one. And now let's move on to a preview event that you attended recently, Kirk, for the Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak 2. What happened with that session? How'd that go?
Yes. This was another Discord gaming session and demo from NIS America that we
They
were
seem to
invited
love
to
these, don't they?
participate in. What's that?
They love these events, don't they?
Oh
Like
yeah,
they have a lot of
I
yeah.
it seems like every game they're putting out, and they've just had a slew of games. Although this game doesn't come out until February 14th, so it was
Mhm.
surprising that it was this early.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a little off because, of course, they're always going to show it off on like the PS4, the PS5. I'm not seeing the Switch versions of the games while I
Mm,
play.
yeah.
But The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak was released for the Switch earlier this year. This game's coming out in February. Like I said, it's been out in Japan for a while, so it's already been there. But there were two things that I want to focus on here. It being a sequel, of course, you will have wanted to play the first one first. So you've got time to do that.
Mhm.
But like as these games in the Legend of Heroes evolve, they tend to add new things to it, and two of them added this time, I think, are most important. The first is that in the Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak, they introduced the ability to kind of fight in real time when you're out in the wild. The games are the combat is normally turn based, but this allowed you for some of the quicker, easier battles that you would use just to level up and kind of clear your path to fight in real time. However, it was all physical. You could hit and you could dodge, and that was pretty much it. Now they've added the ability to use arts in these fights as well. I won't go into detail on what that means, but anyone who's played a Legend of Heroes game knows that in when you're using arts, it's like a magic attack. In the turn-based battles, now you can apply those on a more limited basis in the active battles as well. So
Cool.
that'll make those a bit more fun. The
Mhm.
other thing is there is a whole new mechanic in this one, which they kind of refer to as time hopping. You may be in a dungeon and get all the way to the end and find out that you didn't need what you needed. And it kind of like kicks you back to the start. The characters have like this weird sensation like, wait a minute, what just happened? Didn't we already do this? Well, let's go ahead. So you end up having to replay things like that a few times, which sounds like it would be annoying, except it is 100% story based. It's not just like you didn't get the right thing at the right time and you tried this too soon. It's that the story actually requires the characters to go back and do this again. Sometimes they will need to get another person in the party. Sometimes they're going a different direction or they have to do other things first, but it's not something just to extend the game for no reason other than to make it longer. It's part of the story. You're going to have to do this. And it doesn't actually make things too repetitive because, like, say, when you go back in any treasure chests that you uncovered the first time, those are already open. You don't need to go get them again. You're
Mm.
just, pushing through this with like a different party makeup, for example. So it looks like I said, it looked like it would be annoying, but the more they discussed it and the more I watched them play, I'm like, well, all right, we're just kind of bouncing around and creating this interesting dynamic where you get to change things up for this. So could be very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Are they playing it live and just skipping to different scenes to showcase certain scenes, or is it a video? Is it video footage
Yes.
of?
No. Yeah, they're playing it live.
Yeah,
They
right.
did do two. They did two different things. At one point, they were
Mhm.
showing us one dynamic early, and then we skipped ahead like four levels to be able to take a look at something else. And
Mm.
one point, as anyone who's played these games know, my main complaint about the Legend of Heroes games is that there is so much talking, and like before a battle, you may have 5 to 10 minutes of story, and then you have
Right.
the fight, and then you could end up there for half an hour to an hour afterwards, like at the end of the game,
Mm.
just watching dialogue. Um, so
Yeah.
that we went up to a battle at one point. They're like, we don't want to give any spoilers, so they skipped that and then just went straight into the battle. So
Right.
we did hop around a little bit for purposes like that.
Yeah.
Fans of the series will also be happy to know that a lot of characters from the previous games are going to show up in this. That doesn't mean you need to have played any of the stories other than the first Trails Through Daybreak to know what's going on. They just kind of slide them in as bonuses and sort of explain who they are. Um, so you get that, and there will be characters that were not playable in previous games, but were very important to the story that you finally get to actually put in your party and use in combat now too. So some
Mm.
rewards there as well for fans.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean the first one in your summary, because you reviewed the first one earlier this year, and you gave it a decent, very decent score of 8 out of 10. And you said it's otherwise as JRPGs can get. What did you mean by that?
The well, you know how I love my melodrama.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's got a lot of that. It's got characters. The relationships are very important. It's got some adult themes and that the characters kind of treat each other as older teenagers or young adults would. They don't shy away from. I don't want to say risque. It's not like they're all, um, you know, randy. Can I use that word throughout the
Yes.
whole thing? But they do use that for humor and for some character development in completely approachable ways.
Mm.
And the stakes are really high. Like you think it's just a small story, but the more we go on, the more we see that there's this great big story going on and all kinds of betrayals and technology being used in very bizarre ways that becomes very important. And we're walking the line between good and evil on everything we do. It's just everything is really high stakes.
Yeah, right. Cool. It sounds, yeah, I mean, it sounds great. Um, and I guess you're looking forward to this one a lot.
Yes, yeah, I greatly enjoyed it. And actually, Trails to the Daybreak, the first one was one of my favorites that they released in, I don't want to say quite some time, but easily in the top 50% of the Legends of Heroes games that I played on the Switch, and there are a lot now on the Switch. So I'm looking forward to the sequel. I like the characters a lot. I like the story. I like the gameplay. So February 14th cannot come too soon for me.
Happy Valentine's Day, then. It's February the 14th is Valentine's Day, right?
Yes. Yep. February 14th is Valentine's Day. And what better way to share it than with a JRPG?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe there are better ways to share it.
There are
Yeah.
definitely worse ways to share it, so yeah, let's say that.
Yes. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that wrap up of the gaming event for Trails Through Daybreak 2 coming in February. Let's move on to the games that we're playing this week. And I will begin with I've done a great job, Kirk, of wrapping up all my reviews that I had in the queue. So cleared out the deck, had a look at the list and saw what was available. I picked up a shooter. What do you call it? Is it a shmup? Is it no? It's not a shmup. It's a bullet hell. It's a top down shooter game called Angel
I think those are
Outfield.
shmups. Aren't Bullet Hell and
Shmups?
shmup the same thing?
Yeah, maybe. I think so.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yes, let's go with yes. Uh,
Okay.
I hope so, for my sake. My reputation is at stake here. So, my reputation of constantly getting things wrong. So this is, actually this is quite, it's not JRPG in that sense of story or characters, but I'd say it's very Japanese. Um, so it's just, let's start with the shmup component. You're some sort of flying object, top-down perspective, shooting all sorts of things coming at you. Love that. I love a bullet hell. Um, I haven't spent a lot of time with this just yet. Uh, and the shooting, it looks lovely. Let's just say that your little, I don't want to say plane because I don't think it's a plane. It looks like a dragonfly. I don't really know. There is this weirdness around this game visually. You'll see. It's very, I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like you're inside a body, sort of, but it's not blood and guts. It's just weird creatures. It's a bit surreal. It's a bit like a surrealism painting. I don't know what they've done with this. The visuals are odd. Um, there's lots of giant enemies. Sorry, do you have a word for this or?
Yeah, I was just like I was trying to complete the thought for you, but I can't.
It's indescribable.
Gothic?
Yeah.
I want to say
Yeah,
it's like kind of like
kind
got a
of.
gothic-y approach, kind of
Mm.
Geiger-esque, but not quite.
Yes.
Yeah,
If you're
weird. Yeah.
Yes, if you're watching this on YouTube, or listening to this on YouTube, I will be putting the trailer in while I speak, so you'll see what I mean. But if you're on, Spotify or whatever, you'll just have to Google it. Angel at Dusk. It is out. I think it just. When was the release date? Do you have it open? I don't know the release date. Sorry, I just
The release date
think it
is
was
I do have it
recently.
open, November 7th. So
Yeah,
yesterday
it's
as we record this.
very recent. Yeah, so it just came out. It's a very new game. Yes. I need to spend more time with it because at this point I loaded it up. I went in straight into a game. It told me that this was like a super hard game that 99% of people couldn't handle. Was I in the 1%? That might have been a joke, right? Because
What a great way to get people to buy your game. You're
well,
not going to
I
be able
know.
to finish it. You're going to suck at it.
Yes. So
Okay.
I thought, okay, well, I'll take on the challenge, right? But I finished it, I think. I don't know. Credits rolled. So, well, the story ended, and there's all this guff about angels and mankind and being bitten, and I don't even know. I'm just reading it, going, "What on earth is this?" Yeah, it's very edgy. Maybe is a word. Gothic, edgy. I don't know. If you're into that though, maybe what you like it. I need to play more because there are different levels. There's two modes that I saw. Some sort of maybe like an endless mode and then a campaign sort of mode. I thought I did the campaign mode, but after 6 rounds, it kind of just ended and it took me back to the menu. So I'm like, did I just complete the game? Like, what happened? I didn't die once. I had some kind of life system that sometimes depleted, but then sometimes refilled. I powered up, I guess, during levels. I unlocked things. I think it's like an experience meter, experience points that you gain, and then you get different bonuses. Some enemies in this particular round weren't susceptible to the blast attack, for example. They were just susceptible to the normal attack. So there's little things like that that were interesting. But I was just holding down the attack button the whole time anyway. So mm, I don't know. And the bosses were big and bad, but they didn't beat me. And there's bullets everywhere, but I didn't really seem to get hit all that much. So I'm not really sure what I was doing wrong. But yeah, um,
Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were just excellent at it. You're the one
maybe,
percenter.
maybe, yes, go me. So very interesting outing in that one. Look out for my thoughts on Angel at Dusk in the future.
Okay. There are two things that I like about how they describe this game on the Nintendo eShop.
Hmm.
The first is that apparently the game takes place in the year 2,300,000,000,000 AD.
Wow.
So I don't know that we've ever gone that far into the future in anything in
No,
history
no.
of entertainment. So
Yeah.
good for them to. And then it under the features it says the path to mastery can be walked by anyone. Contains the most beginner friendly tutorial in shmup history.
Oh. And so I didn't do the tutorial because I saw that and I thought, no, I know how bullet hells work. I'll just play it. But maybe they made me do the tutorial anyway. Maybe that's what I did.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you thought you finished and you were so great at.
Yeah, that would explain it. Maybe it's just easy on the punishment side. So I'll jump back in and give it a proper go. We'll see. Maybe I'll die within 2 seconds. So yeah, that could explain it. But I
Good luck.
definitely didn't choose that. But it would make sense. They might just make you go through that anyway. So
Yeah.
see. We'll see. Yeah, definitely interesting. It definitely stands out visually. Like it's if you like that style, and you'll know straight away if you do or not. You you know go right ahead and enjoy that. And obviously, bullet hell's a bullet hell. So if you do like bullet hells, you'll get a kick out of that too. Assuming that I just did the tutorial and it is actually hard. Uh, do you like a bullet hell? How do you feel about those?
I'm not really into them much. There was one I played recently because it used bullet hell elements along with other gameplay, and I found it really effective. It was Kill, the Calumniation Files, I think.
Hmm.
Reviewed that a year or two ago. So I like it in small doses, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes, yes, I do as well. But I think maybe I need to try. What I want to do with this game is try it in handheld mode because I don't know if it has that. Is it Tato where you can tilt your screen and play it
Uh,
vertically? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Because
I don't
on
know.
this I played on my TV, and on the television, it was, um it had these big borders, you'll see probably in the screenshots, it had the big borders on the right, unless this was the tutorial, but it had big borders on the right, and you're just playing in what looks like portrait mode in the
Yeah.
center of the screen. So, there's a lot of real estate not being used there, but maybe it was developed for a portrait mode. Do you know what I mean? Like a phone or a Switch rotated, so I'll give that a go as
Sure.
well and
Yeah.
see if
Or
that's the
even
case.
like an old arcade screen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I will give it some more time before I judge it too harshly. But yes, the visuals definitely stand out immediately. That's not a thing you need to, you'll know straight away. But the other game I played this week, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago that it was coming out, was Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania. So this is the latest DLC for Vampire Survivors. And I love Vampire Survivors, as we all know. I was very interested to try this DLC because I also like Castlevania. I was telling Kirk offline before the show that it was free because I had points built up. So, DLC generally is not that expensive, and Vampire Survivors DLC especially so. I think in Australia this was around $5. It's probably about three in the US. Um, and I had enough points that it just covered the $5 for nothing. So it felt very, very rewarding to be getting a free update. Well, free, and I'm doing inverted quotes with my fingers that you can't see. Free update to the game. So it does give you a whole lot of new characters and a new level. The characters are locked by default, which is kind of annoying, but then it's good in a way because you have to work to unlock them, right? You have to do things to unlock them. So I haven't quite done that yet, but what I did was jump straight into the new level, which is really cool and very different. It's very big, and it's almost the other levels seem endless in that you can just keep going sideways or up and down, whatever. I've never reached the edge of these levels. They are quite large, and perhaps you can reach the edge. But this one seems to have definite edges, and it has like a castle in the middle. It feels more like I don't know, like an actual. Not that the others aren't actual levels, but it feels a bit bigger and beefier. There's more in it, more elements. There's a big forest section, and you can even find little pathways through the forest that you can't see necessarily. You just go up to the trees, and suddenly there's a like, pathway that opens up through the trees. So you can go through the trees that way. There's these really big bosses that you uncover, like I guess, mini bosses that you uncover randomly, that are really tough to beat. Um, yeah, and it's just as fun as you expect, basically. So, if you're a fan of Vampire Survivors and a fan of Castlevania like I am, even if you're not a fan of Castlevania, I would say, just because if you do like Vampire Survivors, you want more content, this is definitely worth getting. There's just so much to it. Heaps of characters, like I said, I just haven't got around to getting them all yet, but they're there. And I love that unlockable side of things too in Vampire Survivors. It's very much part and parcel of this game. Even the very base level outing has a whole lot of characters you can lock by doing certain things. You can upgrade by earning coins. Yeah, it's very customizable that way, which is a really good incentive to keep playing. So yeah, definitely enjoying my time with that one. I'm kind of midway through a game at the moment with my son. We had to pause it because it got late. So we'll continue that today after the show, and see if we can survive the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you've gotten good enough that you have to pause it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. It's super fun, and I think I've mentioned this before because there's not a countdown, a count up. Like there's a timer at the top that
Mhm.
tells you how long you've been surviving for, and if it says 11 minutes, for example, it's not. It is 11 minutes in that the counter is in actual seconds and minutes, but there's constantly pauses when you upgrade, pauses when you get rewards. So it's not it ends up being more than 11 minutes, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 minutes is maybe, 15 to 20 or that sort of time frame. So it gives you an idea, but yes, the goal is to get to half an hour. So we'll do that. We'll try our best to get there. So far, we're doing really well. And each character you can level up differently. I think you get depending on how many players you have, you can choose a certain number of weapons, and as you level those weapons up, they get more and more powerful until they reach a maximum level, and you're kind of overpowered, but also there's hordes of enemies. So you're never really truly overpowered because you can succumb to there's just too many enemies for your great strength in this area. Like my son loves there's knives you can collect. And when you level up the knives, you just because you don't have to press the attack button in this game, it just automatically fires for you. But the dude is spamming knives, like the character is just like with knives, and it just looks really cool. And it's you can just clear out a path of enemies really easily. But more enemies just fill their place so quickly. It's very intense. It's like, yeah, you're never truly safe in Vampire Survivors.
Well, yeah. I guess it's right there in the title, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I've always loved it when you have one of those video games where you've got this unlimited amount of physical things that you could throw out like that. Like
Mhm.
lasers, you get it because it's this intangible thing inside the gun anyway. But knives, like where's he keeping them? It's
Yeah.
just so cool to think about.
Yes, that's a great thought. I love that. Yes. So yeah, that's my little recap of what I'm playing this week. Nothing huge. I haven't unfortunately been playing Mario and Luigi just yet. That is also out now. Um, but you're continuing your time with Pinball M. Is that correct?
Yes, I brought this up last week, and I'm still playing it. The review is up. The review just went live again today as we recorded. Um,
Nice.
but there are a couple things I wanted to, I guess, address since I brought them up last time. The first is that we mentioned that Pinball M is a separate app outside of Pinball FX, which is the normal program game. I don't know that you would download for free and then get the
Mhm.
tables on. Um, but Zen did something really cool with this because if you download Pinball M and then you buy Camp Bloodbrook, you do get access to the edited version of Camp Bloodbrook that's available in Pinball FX.
Cool. Like
So,
the less bloody version.
yes, the less
Yeah.
bloody version, which is great because if you're playing games in Pinball FX and you want some Camp Bloodbrook and you don't need the blood, you don't need to quit the game, launch another game, go through the whole system to get to where you want to be. Um, so I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. Do you think they'll do that with other M Pinball M titles?
Honestly, they may have already done it because this is the first time I downloaded Pinball M to review Camp Bloodbrook.
Right.
So I'd have
Yes.
to see.
Yeah. If so, that's a really cool. Like you said, it gives you the chance to play if you're in Pinball FX. Is that what it's called? The other one?
Yes.
Yeah. And you want to play a certain table, it's right there for you. But yeah, and it's also gives you that kid or more less mature audience version as well, I suppose, right? For accessibility.
Yeah, and like I can't imagine there's a reason you would say no. I got to play the bloody version of this game. It's pinball. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, it's just how the graphics look, and maybe there's some content. I I haven't played the FX version, so I don't know what else they would have edited out of it, other
Mm-hmm.
than what I could see in the screenshots. And the review, if our listeners want to check it out, has a side by side kind of the what one screen looks like on M versus FX, so you can see it. And really, to me, it's not a big deal, but
Yeah.
I guess I get it.
Yeah.
The ratings board has their percentage of blood, I guess, that's allowed to fill a screen at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Exactly. And I liked what you said, or I noticed in your review that you mentioned, because was it Pinball FX? There was some issues with the lighting at times.
yes.
Generally, not with this particular table, but you mentioned that in Pinball M, that worked to its advantage, being a bit darker.
Yeah, that was the gamma adjustments that you can make tend to correct it, but that's a point that Trevor and I brought up when they released FX as opposed to like Pinball FX3, which is what they were at before. it seems to be a new graphic engine that either the Switch is just not allowed to pull out all the, or not capable to pull out all the detail.
Mm.
But everything seemed kind of dark and sort of dingy as opposed to the previous releases that Trevor and I both thought looked better. But since this is a horror game and there are all these shadowy corners throughout the whole thing, the table features a cabin, like you've got your cabin in the woods. In the background it's got a well. So we're getting our nod to the ring. It's got
Yeah.
like it's got a covered bridge, for like a Sleepy Hollow thing.
Mm. Mhm.
But it's got all these elements where it's cool that you can't quite see what's going on. Your ball can disappear into a corner. You don't know what's going on over there, where it's going to come out. It's a nice effect within this horror theme, that I imagine would carry over to the other Pinball M games too. But here I just thought it was okay, and it helps too that this is my favorite of the Pinball FX, the new version games that I played. It's a great table. That's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, and how many tables do you think there are now in in like available?
Boy, I could look it up.
It'd be
A
heaps though, right?
dozen or
Yeah.
so. I think
Okay.
we've reviewed maybe about 6 or 7 now, and I know there are a few
Mm.
more that we didn't look at.
Yeah.
Some tables that I wanted, like there was a Pacific Rim game that came out, and I haven't picked that up yet. But that's one that's on my list. So yeah, I would say maybe about a dozen or a couple more.
Okay. How much is a table usually to like what's the cost generally?
It depends. This one is like Camp Bloodbrook is. Oh, you know what? The age verification popped back up, so I got to get past this.
Yeah, make sure you're over 18. Is it 18?
Yep.
15? 18. Okay.
Yeah, is it 18? Yeah, I don't know. I just punch in my. I'm so far over it that I don't know what the cutoff is. I was old enough to look at this stuff before the internet was a thing. Um, it's $5 for this one.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
they're not always $5. Sometimes you can also get them bundled where it'll cost like $7.99 and you get 3 games. So I guess it depends on how I think, or how they think, how popular they feel the game's going to be.
Mm. I played a real pinball game actually the other day for the first time in a long time.
Oh, which one?
What was the theme of it? It was at this Extra Lives music concert that I went to. It's at a place called Netherworld in Brisbane, and they have all these retro games. And so before the show, we were playing some games, and I have to say, because it was just me and my friend, I won Daytona. There's the Sega Daytona game, the racing game. I did win that.
Okay.
We played The Simpsons, the arcade game, which was super fun. And then we played pinball, and I'm just like, trying to think what the theme was. And I don't think it was like a specific movie or genre or a theme that I can think of. I think it was just a sci-fi kind of thing. It was fun though, and
Okay.
there's a little, there's all these little things like going on in the corner. There's this little flap that if you hit that, you get heaps of points. Um, I love pinball, but I'm just not very good at it. And I know there's tricks to it, and like because there's obviously the two paddle. Are they called paddles at the bottom? Is that what you hit the ball with?
Flippers.
Flippers?
Flippers.
Yep. See, I
Yep.
don't even know the terminology. And then the ball comes and it goes straight to through the middle, and I'm like, oh, come on, that's not fair.
Yeah, yeah. It can be cruel
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
even more annoying when it drains down the side, and there's
Oh,
absolutely like
yes.
there's
Yeah.
nothing you could have done. Well, I mean, once it had gotten its path to stop that. Like the flippers, I always feel like, well, maybe I just timed it differently or put this one up. I could have bounced it over to the other. Um, yeah,
Mm.
it's
Yeah, that's
it's a
true.
cruel game, but fun.
I took a photo. I can't see it. It's something gazier. Gazier. There's like a scantily clad woman on the front.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Pinball M.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But it was fun. It's fun.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
looking here at Pinball FX. They actually have up to 30 tables now, so I was way off
Wow.
on how
Okay.
many are
Oh,
available.
that's cool. Yeah.
And curiously, I only see 2 here that are available on Pinball M and on FX as well. So I don't know if that was just a
Ah.
decision with this
Yeah.
game
Hmm.
uh, or what, but there you go.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, it's definitely not every M title is converted across.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you think they're the same? Oh, so you get them together, so it's bundled. So the one price covers both, basically. for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
says, like I said, I haven't launched it on FX, but it said that if you buy it on this one, you can carry the license over to Pinball FX.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. Um, so that's what we're playing this week. There's a few big games out this week as well. Well, sorry, Mario and Luigi has already come out. That came out on Thursday. It's another one of those random. I think we've decided that Nintendo's moving to Thursdays now for their big releases. Like Echoes of
Yeah.
Wisdom came out on Thursday. Mario and Luigi came out on Thursday. And then the one that's coming out this week is Tetris Forever, which is out on the 12th. And that is that a Tuesday? What is that? Yeah, that's weird. It's a Tuesday. Okay. So Tetris Forever comes out on a Tuesday. I did notice it is on sale if you happen to pre-order it or get it in advance. It's on sale until the 13th of November. So if you were looking to get Tetris Forever, you would save 15% um, if you get it on release day or the day after. So that's not too bad if you're interested. Um, because you mentioned Tetris earlier, the marching band played it.
Hmm.
The actual live music people also played the Tetris theme song. That was actually the first thing they played because in the RPG little story element, you were running late for the airport and you had to pack your bag really quickly, and so that was the
Uh,
Tetris. You had to
yes.
Yeah, so they jumped on stage and played the Tetris song. So Tetris Forever, I think we're reviewing this one. Trev looks like he's reviewing this one, so we'll have
Yep.
some thoughts for you, for listeners, in the near future. I know it does come with, was it like 14 versions or something of Tetris, something ridiculous like that?
More than 15
More
playable
than
classic
15.
games.
Why don't they just put 16?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They
That's what.
think people get confused by any number that doesn't end in a zero or a five.
Yes, yeah. Yes, so that's a lot of Tetris love right there. And we will definitely have some thoughts on that in the near future via Trap, unless someone else also is playing it.
Are they
um,
really that different? I'm not a huge Tetris fan, so like I imagine visually I can see how they would all be different, but how different is the gameplay across one version of Tetris to the next?
well, that's a very good question, honestly. I don't think they're all that different. I know some of the multiplayer versions are different. Like they have, when you get a Tetris, it sends little elements to other players that you're competing with, like that sort of thing. And I know there's different power ups you can get in some versions of Tetris, but I think pure Tetris is just Tetris, right? So
Yeah.
the graphics change, like you said, the NES version looks 8-bit, and then there's different other console versions that look a bit more colorful and graphical. I don't know what. It's still pretty flat. It's like it's 2D. So
Yeah.
I,
There is one screenshot here at the eShop that I love. It looks like it's a multiplayer thing where four people are playing at once, and each one has a different iteration of the game. So it
that's
really
cool.
looks kind of cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I wonder if it's random or if you can choose before you get into it. Like I'm going to
Yeah,
use the NES version, the classic one, or I don't even know. There was the game. Was the Game Boy version on there? That's pretty basic, right?
yeah. One of these looks like a Game Boy version here. It's definitely got that kind of greenish
Yeah.
sort of monochrome look to it. That seems right. I don't.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't remember any other version. It's like 15 plus. I had the NES version and the Game Boy version. I've played, I guess, I know there's a Switch version, I'm pretty sure, at some point. And I've definitely played the 99s, Tetris 99, whatever it is, that version. Um, yeah, there was this offshoot way back in the day. I think it was on a PC, probably not an official thing, where you were looking down at the Tetris blocks. Like it was kind of a square, like you were looking down into the field where the blocks drop. It
Oh,
might have.
like from above them, you're looking from above
Yeah.
where they
Yeah.
drop. And oh, well, how would you be able to tell where they are until they get down far enough that you could see everything?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be strange.
It was strange. Not sure that took off as well as Tetris has, since I guess Tetris must be celebrating its, is it 30th anniversary this year or something like that?
40th.
40th. Oh, well, there you
Yeah.
go. Yes, it would be too because it's the 80s. Um, yeah. Is that why this game is out? Because of the 40th anniversary?
I would imagine. In fact,
Yeah.
that was I think the first time I played a Tetris game may have been '88 when I sat down on my first Mac SE at the
Hmm.
Office of Public Information at the university I went to, and that was one of the only
Right.
games on it. And
Yeah.
that was my first Mac and my first Tetris.
And then you were sold on both or just the
No, just the Mac.
Mac? Yeah. Yes. Well, there's a lot, yeah, obviously a lot to unpack in that game for Trev when he gets around to it. So, yeah. I assume it's good. I mean, Tetris is Tetris. I don't think they can go too wrong with a collection of that size. But yeah, whether it's worth the asking price of $35, I don't know. But at least it is a decent collection, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 plus games. I think qualifies as a decent collection. So is there anything this week that you're looking forward to playing yourself that you're aware of, or?
Nothing in particular. But like as you said, I've kind of cleared out my review queue, and
Mhm.
now I'm going to hop into the available ones and see what's there and get started on some new things. So I'm looking forward to starting something new finally.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Anything else you want to add before we close things off?
Well, but I think I'm ready to get back to playing.
Yes, indeed. Excellent. And I hope listeners enjoyed the show. We'd love to know what you're playing. Are you still playing Mario Party? Are you playing Mario and Luigi? And I have been playing a little bit of Mario Party too, but I didn't really talk about that because we've talked a lot about that already. And Trev's review is up on the website though, if you wanted to know Pure Nintendo's thoughts on the game. I think that's probably in my list of games of the year potentially as well. So it's going to be a fun discussion when we get to that next month, I guess. December's not that far away. So yeah, we'll be talking about the year in review and all of our favorite games from the year. But until then, and until next week, thank you for listening. And we are on social media. So if you'd like to catch us over there, we're on Twitter/X and Blue Sky. And if you would like to subscribe to our magazine, you can support us over at patreon.com/pure Nintendo. We'd love your support and we'd love to get our physical copy of our magazine into your hands. But until next week, thank you and game on, everybody. Bye.